when I finally started tracking my finances, I was able to see where the leaks were in my budget. And let me tell you, I had holes everywhere, holes and leaks that I didn't even know that I had. I was spending money on fast food like Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is one of my favorite places to eat. We had subscriptions like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon subscriptions. We have iCloud storage fees. We have overdraft fees when you don't have enough in your bank account and the money's coming out there. We had late fees because we didn't have enough money to pay our bills on time. So we were getting late fees almost every month, and that was eating up a lot of our budget. As I started to track these things, I started to notice where the money was going, and I recognized that I really didn't have control over my finances like I thought I did, because again, in your head, you think you're not spending a lot. Oh, it's $2 here, $3 there, $5 there. But when you really start tracking and looking at your spending, you really see how fast that money that you spent add up. And you are very surprised at your income that's coming in and what's going out. And the reason why we're budgeting is because we finally have to take control over our finances and tell our money what we need it to do, because we need our money for things that we actually need. If we are trying to build and walking in faith, the things that we want, like land and houses and things that we want to buy that's going to set up our children to have a head start in life, we need to start planning and preparing for things like that. So we really need to get control of our spending. And if we're asking God to help us with more money to come in, he has to be able to trust us with that money, because if we are faithful over the few things, he will make us ruler over many. And I want God to see that I'm being faithful with the money that he gives me, so that he can make me ruler over a lot of money, because he's going to say, okay, you're doing what you need to do. Here's some more. So today we're going to start the tutorial about how easy it is to use the spreadsheet that I created. Let's get started. As we get started, I want you all to know that I don't want you to feel bad that you're in the situation that you're in. I want you to feel encouragement, because either you didn't know what you know now, and that's okay. We're learning and we're in this together. So let's just take a deep breath and don't stress out about the money. We're going to take control of it, and we're going to start having more income. We're going to start seeing what we have, and we're going to be smarter in our decision making. So on the first part of the spreadsheet, as you see, we have a small note of encouragement just to encourage you to hang in there. Everything's going to be okay. Now, the section 2 is the expense tracking chart. So what you're going to do here is list out all your expenses, like your mortgage. We have car payments, your credit cards, things like that. Once you list everything out, all your expenses, I mean everything. We have food, any extra miscellaneous expenses, try to add those up, get your bank statements, get the exact amounts. You want to put your monthly payment in there. So we're going to put our mortgage, for example, we're going to say our mortgage was $1,200. We're entering that in. The due date, let's say, is due on the 1st. And then any notes. Now with my mortgage, I don't know if you watch my other videos, but with my mortgage, I like to do split payments. And what the split payments do on a weekly basis, it helps me prepare ahead of time so that I can have the full amount, because my mortgage and my car note are my two biggest bills. So I'm going to write in the notes that I made 4 split payments. Okay. And utility bills, we can just say some of the utilities is $65. Any of these that are listed here, you can change however you like. If you want to put like what bank. I put US Bank for my mortgage. If you want to put car payment, what the name of the company is that you work with or that you're paying, you can put that there. But you can just enter in the dates and any type of notes. Now when you scroll down, you see here it's going to give you a total of your monthly expenses. So right now we have a total of $1,265. Now, I believe that you should save 10% of everything that you earn. So I'm just put that in there so that at least as a start, we're all going to be starting out saving 10%. And that's automatically calculated. All of this are formulated rows, so you don't have to do anything. So we're adding our 10% for savings. And then we have the total of what we need. And then this is going to give you a weekly total of what you need to be making as income. So any entrepreneurs out there, or even if you have a 9-to-5, whatever you're making weekly, if you're not making enough at your 9-to-5, then maybe you need to get a side hustle or something else. This is what you're going to be needing to make every week so that you can focus on your weekly goals instead of looking at it as a whole. And that just makes it easier to see. Now, in this section, I had a signed agreement so that you can take the commitment today or whenever you purchase a spreadsheet to finally get in control of your finances. We need to write it down and agree, date it. So if you're the individual, I have a space for you to sign and date. So for partners, you can just put your name. I'm going to write my name in here. I'm not the best at typing, so bear with me. And then we're going to do a date. Let's say July 1, 2025, even though that's not the date, but there it is. So you and your partner can sign, and that's just agreeing between the two of you, because the Bible says where there's two or three agree, I will be in the midst. And we want God to be in our finances, and we want him to take control, take it over, and give us more, right? Okay, so that's it for the first tab. Let's go to the budget by week. And I tried to make it really simple so it's easy for you to understand. The words are big enough, hopefully, that you can see. Now, with the start date, in the first tab, you're only going to enter the start date. And as you can see here, you're going to type in the first 3 letters of each month, the 2-digit day, and the 4-digit year, just like I have here. So I already have that in. You can always double click. If you're on a laptop, it'll allow you to just pick a date like that. But I usually do this on my iPad. So when you're doing it on the iPad, just do the 3-digit month, the day, and then the comma, and then the year. Okay. So let's go back to the first. And then as you see on the end date, it's automatically going to calculate that end date for you. So you do not have to touch the end date. You do have to enter your start balance. So what are you starting with in your bank account for the month? So let's say we're starting with $54, and we have that there. Now we have a tab for our weekly overview, which is really important. So I'm going to go over that now before we even get started setting up the other things. Now, the weekly over tab is to help you keep track of what your ending balance is at the end of the month. So before you even get started with the spreadsheet, when you enter your date and the budget by week, whenever you're starting, so say you purchase it and you're going to be starting on August 1st or whenever, you're going to come to this weekly overview tab and you're going to do your start date. So we're going to say we're starting, let's do July because I entered July and the other one. So let's do July. Okay. And then we're going to do our starting balance, which was, let's go back, it was $54. So we're going to type that in there. Now, those are the only 2 things that you need to enter in the weekly overview when you're using it each month, is your start date and your starting balance. Now, when you start entering in your transactions, all of this is going to automatically fill for you. And what this does is when you go back to your budget by week, so let's go back there and we scroll down to week 5. Once you finish with week 5, I only have it where it's like one sheet of paper. So it's almost like at the end of week 5, you're going to rip off that paper in a way and kind of toss it, and we're going to start over. So once you finish out the 5 weeks, you're going to go back to the top at the end of the month, and we're going to start a new month. And we're going to be changing the date. So only the start date. Whoops, I'm in week 3, sorry. Let's go back to week 1. Okay, we're only going to be changing the start date. So now we're going to go to August 1st. Okay. Now, and then you see, and then we're going to change our starting balance because we're going to have to know what our ending balance is in order to change our starting balance. So the reason why I created the weekly overview is because what if you accidentally cleared it out and you're like, oh, I forgot what my ending balance was. You can always go back to your weekly overview and you can check for whatever, like that August, and then you're going to look down here and you're going to say, okay, I ended with that amount, so this is going to be here at all times. So even if you erase it and start typing in a new date, you'll always have the actual balances in these squares. So I hope that makes sense. All right, so let's go back to the budget by week. Okay, let's put our starting balance again. Let's do $54. Okay, and then this cash flow summary, you're not going to touch that. That just remains. Those are formulated rows, so you don't have to touch that. Then if we come to the income, this is where you're going to set your categories for your income. So if we have income 1, you can put income 1. You can do side hustle. Sometimes I get a refund, so I want to enter refunds. A lot of times I do saving transfers, so we can enter that. Okay, and this is where you're going to set your income categories. And once you set it in week 1, in that white section, it's going to automatically fill in. You can see here in the gray areas for weeks 2 through 5. As we scroll over to the right, we're going to see our expenses. So all the expenses here under the category, those you're going to set in your Get Started page. So remember, in your Get Started, let's go back to the Get Started. Under the section 2, here is where your categories are set for your expenses on the Budget by Week tab. So once you set that, then you're good to go on your budget by week. And you can change it and customize it to however you like. In the white sections is where you're going to actually type. Any of the gray, light gray areas, those are formulated rows, so you're not going to touch those. You set your categories in the Get Started tab. For the debt, over here, this is blank at the moment, but we're going to set the categories for your debt. You would do that by going to the Debt Informations tab, and then you're going to put the debt name. So some of the debts we might have are credit cards, any car loans, if you want to put that in there. What other debts do we have? If you owe somebody money, I don't know, maybe you owe somebody money. So sister money, that can be a debt. And then you would put your balance. So this is for you to have an overview of what you owe. So for your mortgage, if you want to put the full amount of how much you owe on your mortgage. So let's do that. Let's do mortgage. let's say we owe $324,000 on the mortgage, so that at all times you know what your current balance is. So if somebody asks you, how much do you have left on your mortgage? Don't just say, I don't know, I have to check. Come to your spreadsheet and like, okay, I owe this month this much to the very cent. You'll know exactly where you are, and you need to update it monthly so that you can know if you're paying down, how much you're paying down, and you can know at all times. Then it has a space for what your minimum payments are. So we said our minimum payments was $1,200, so you can enter that there. And then put the interest rate, because some people like to tackle their debt by interest rate. You can just put it there so you can know which items have the highest interest rate. When we go back to the budget by week, you'll see here it has all the categories filled in for you. And again, that's going to fill in weeks 1 through 5. So you see here, it seems like this thing is going by fast. So weeks 1 through 5. Okay, then we're going to scroll over some more to the savings. And I'm going to teach you how to fill in the categories here for the savings. So to do that, you're going to have to go to your savings tracker. Now, if it seems like a lot, it's not. Usually when you're setting something up as a system for you to run your finances, it's going to take some time to get it started. But once you get it started, the way I created the spreadsheet is that you only have to set it up once. So I wanted us to start paying our bills by the month, so that I know each week, not by the month, each week I would make payments to that bill. So I would be able to see these bills are due on week 1, these bills are due on week 2, 3, and etc. And set how much we're saving. And then the next month, I don't have to write it down in week 1 again. I know every week 1, I'm paying these bills. So the only thing that's going to adjust is like sometimes like my HOA might be due on week 2, and sometimes it might be due in week 3. So sometimes it might fluctuate just a little bit, but for the most part, I'm not rearranging the bills that I'm paying on a weekly basis. It stays the same, so I don't have to do any other work. I know those when the bills are due, and that's when they're going to get paid. So every Tuesday, I make my payments per week, and I'm done. I'm not like trying to figure out what's due, how much is due. I already know. All right, so let's go back to the savings. And we're going to set up, so this one has a graph. So you see the top, it has your total goal amount, your current balances. We can scroll over. This mouse is like so weird. I'm not used to using a laptop. You have what you have left to save. And then these are going to fill up as we start filling it out. So the first thing we're going to start saving here, we're going to do 10% of our savings, because that's like our first priority on the things that we want to do for our savings, and we have to start somewhere. So 10% savings, we're going to put the start date as July 01, 2025. Okay, and then our goal date, let's say we're going to keep saving. We're going to be saving forever, but let's just say we're going to stop July 2026. Okay, and then what's our goal amount? Let's say $10,000. Okay, and then what are we starting with? What do you have? If you don't have anything, don't be ashamed, because I started with $26, and that $26 became $1,000 in like 6 months. So as you start, you're going to see your money start increasing. So don't worry. So let's say we start with $100. Okay, then it's going to show your current balance. So we can scroll over to the right here. So current balance, we got left to save, your monthly target. So in order to get to your $10,000 by next year, it's going to tell you that you need to save $825 per month. So that kind of gives you an idea of what you need to save, but there's no pressure there. And then let's scroll up to see what our graphs are looking like. Okay, so the graphs, we have our saving progress. It's right there in bold. Total goal amount, 10,000. What we have, current balance is 100. See, we're doing good. We're a little bit closer to our goal. And we have 9,900 left to save. All All right, let's go back to our budget by week, and you see here, now we filled in the categories, and you can have more than one category, whatever you like. You can just add that in the savings tracker and it'll transfer over to the budget by week tab. So that's how you set all your categories. Now, the next thing you're going to do is we're going to kind of scroll up a little bit, and we're going to budget what the income is for the week. Now, we don't know, let's go back. So we do know how much we need to be making. So with the two things that we entered in, as of now, we need to be making $347 a week. So let's budget $350 for week 1. So that's the thing. When you budget, you know what you need to be making. So let's budget that's what we need to make. Okay? And then if we have some side hustles, like, okay, I can make a little bit extra money, so I'm going to budget that I'm going to save or start trying to bring in $50 extra. So let's put $50 there. Okay, now here is where you're going to enter in how much you're budgeting to pay for your expenses for the week. Now on week 1, most of the things that's due for me is my mortgage and my car note. But like I said, I like to set payments aside so that I'm ready to make that full payment on the 1st. So on the 1st or each week, I usually put aside what's 1,200 divided by 4. So we're making transfers and savings of $300. So week 1, I'm going to budget that I'm going to put aside $300 for the utilities. That's due, let's say that's due in week 1, and we're going to budget $45. So it's really easy. I don't know if you're familiar with spreadsheets or not, but you just enter in the white section. When you scroll down, you're going to see so far your total is $345. You're going to do that here on the debt for the cards if you want to do that. And then your savings. Let's say we're going to budget saving. Let's see how much we need to save. So let's go back here. So let's not try to guess, but let's see. For the month, we have a total savings goal of $126. And we're making weekly $347. So that means per week, if we're saving 10% of that, we're going to be needing to save $35. So let's put that our goal for that is going to be $35. Okay? Really easy. Again, once you set all your weeks and all the bills that you have to pay for that week, you don't have to do it again. You just are changing numbers, and then you're entering in the actual amounts. And that's pretty much it. So you're going to do the same for weeks 1 through 5. So rinse and repeat. So let's go down here. So the same, and you see the weeks and the dates automatically calculate. The starting balance for week 2, that would adjust as you start putting things in. And the same as week 3, going all the way to week 5. And sometimes we have 4 weeks, sometimes we have 5 weeks. I made the spreadsheets that you can start any date that you like. So if you buy the spreadsheet next year, you can start using it any date as soon as you start putting in like 2026. It's not just geared towards like that you have to use it this year, but you can start at any time. You can start in the middle of the week as long as you adjust it accordingly. Okay. So let's go to the transactions tab. That's where you're going to do all of your transactions. And we're going to do the date. So we're going to enter the date. All the dates again are going to be the first 3 letters. July 01, 2025. So the reason why I'm doing this is because, again, I use my iPad for everything, and it doesn't give me the pop-up for the calendar for some reason. Then we're going to select the category. We're going to say it's an expense. We're going to select the subcategory. Let's say that we're going to be making a payment towards the mortgage. And then we set aside $300. Okay. And then the notes is transfer to savings. Okay. So we did that. And then when we come back over here for the actual, go back to week 1. Let's go back to July. And then you see here, your actual pops up. So it's going to record everything. And then when we go to our weekly overview, you're going to see here that it starts to pop up here in the weekly overview. So all your income, so you can kind of just see briefly, okay, how much did I make in week 1? And it kind of makes it a little bit bigger so it's easier to see. And then you can just easily show somebody this. I usually show my husband this at the end of the month and like, look how much we made. And it's usually a lot. And remember that the rest of these you're not touching. You just look at it. They're not for you to adjust anything. These are formulated rows, so you only touch the date and you only touch the starting balance. Okay. All right. Let me see any questions that I might think of that I had. Okay, so once you start doing your transactions and entering things in, you'll start seeing that like since we're both entrepreneurs, my husband's money comes to our personal bank account, but I have a business bank account, and I have to take money out of my business account and enter it into our personal. So that's where my income comes in from the business, but then sometimes I make money through selling some things on Facebook. So you can enter that in as an income too. You can put Facebook income so that you're seeing where the money is coming in and where it's going to. When I do a transfer for the 4 payments for my mortgage, I'm transferring that money to my savings. So it's getting deducted from my expenses. But then at the end of the month, I have to transfer it back to my income. So it's almost like extra income that's coming back in. So I do put a section for that in the income because it's coming back into my account. So you'll start getting used to like doing your your addition and subtraction, and you really start to see where your money's going and where it's coming from. All right, so the last section we have is our credit score tracker, which I thought was important because that's part of your finances. We need to know what our credit scores are doing so that when we're making these purchases and going towards our goals, like buying a house, we need to know or work on our credit score. So here I just made a little bit of a tracker for that. So you can adjust the person's name. So I'm going to put my name here. You can track up to 2 people. So it's mainly for husband and wife. This section here, we're not going to touch. We're not touching that. If you get confused of what a formulated row or is, once you click on it, if you look here in this section here, you see those are formulas. So you're like, okay, I don't want to touch that. When it's not a formula, it's just like blank, so you won't see it. So here, if I click here, you see 76, 60. You don't see any formulas there. So we can change the goal score. So we're going to change that. Let's say we want our goal score to be 800. So we're going to enter that. We're going to scroll down. Now here's the tracking chart. With the tracking chart, you're just going to put the date. So let's say July 1, 2025. Who it is, let's pick me. So we have the drop down menu, and then the score. We're going to start with our TransUnion score. And beginning the chart, you're going to put what your starting score is. So I think I started at like 530, which is low. And then you can just put starting score. Oops, you see my typing. It's not good. And it's starting to get hot in here. Okay. And then you see here, that's me at the top. So my score is there. Now as it starts to increase, so let's say in August 01, 2025, we're going to do it increasing let's do TransUnion, and we're going to have that increase by 20 points. So let's just put 20. Okay, and that's because I was paying on time. So I think you need to kind of keep track so you can see what exactly you're doing that's helping your score, so that you know what to do if your score starts to drop. You're like, okay, some of the bills I might not be able to pay this time, but what is something that I did before that can get my credit score back up and quickly, and see how long it actually takes. I thought it was going to take almost a year and a half to get my credit score back up to where it was before. But we've been kind of on this reset journey. We kind of had to reset our finances. It's been like 8 months since we did a reset. And since then, our credit score has been going up, and almost like consistently 6 months. Like recently, I got 75-point increase, and I was amazed. I was like, I thought it was going to take us like a year, but because we already had things in place, that helped our credit score, and we did have a history of paying things on time. So when you do fall behind and you get back on track, it's a lot easier for you to kind of get up if you have like that foundation set. Okay, so let's go back up to the top, and you see here the extra 10 points. It was 530. This thing, I'm going too fast. So 530 plus 20 is 550. And when you go up here, you'll see the 550. It also allows you to do a deduction. So say instead of 20-point increase, you did a negative 10. So you do the minus sign, and then you do 10, and you do that. So then we're looking at a deduction, so 520. And my credit score had dropped when we paid off our car too fast, so it was weird. But I like to know where I am with my credit score, because again, if somebody's asking you like, how did you get your credit score so fast? Like, what did you do? I want to keep track of what I'm doing so I can help somebody else. All right. So we went over the debt information, so you can see a full overview of what your balances are. Sometimes it's hard to look at, but you got to add your school loans, put your school loans in there, what total you're looking at, so you can see overall how much you owe, so that you can start, tackling that debt one by one. We have our savings tracker. That's going to help us get a head start. Now, our savings is for the rainy day. Our savings is for the important things that we want to get, like our land and things like that. But you'll be surprised, if you have money saved, sometimes opportunities come, and we want to be ready for those opportunities. So we have to start now and start saving, because who's to say you might meet somebody one day and they're selling like 10 acres and they said you can have it for $1,000, and you like, oh, that was a good deal, but you wasn't ready for it. So we don't know what God is going to send our way, but we just know we have to prepare and be ready for the opportunity. So that's what we're showing God by saving a little bit of our earnings, and we're putting it to the side so that when that time comes, we're ready. All right, and then your transactions. You're going to be entering in your transactions. So try to do that on the weekly basis. So as you're paying your bills, that one day a week, I usually do it on Tuesday or Wednesday. You're paying your bills, enter it in here so that you're done and it doesn't pile up on you. Even if you do fall behind, just come back once a month and start entering in so that you can see where you are. Again, you will be surprised at how much money that you actually earned at the end of the month, because I thought that my husband and I, that we had to really start making extra money because our expenses increased the last month. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to start making some extra money here. He's gonna have to start doing this so that we can meet those weekly goals. And when I did the budgeting, before I even started doing the extra work, we were already there. We had that income already, and God had increased our income. And I didn't even know. Sometimes God increases your income and you don't even know it. So how can we keep asking for more? And he like, I didn't give it to you. You don't even know what you got. I be telling my kids that with like crayons and stuff. They keep losing their crayons and they want more crayons. And I'm like, you already have everything you need, but you keep throwing it on the floor and just wasting it. Why would I give you more? So keep that in mind as you're asking God for things. He probably already gave it to you. All right, so here's our weekly overview. We know what that is. It's pretty simple. And again, everything is set. Once you set it the one time, you don't have to reset it again. You're just going to be budgeting. If it changes, you budget. If it doesn't change, you don't. You just put your actual expenses. So the things that's really going to be changing that we're praying for in the tracker is an income increase. We're working towards getting a higher income, and we're working on saving more. That's pretty much what we need to do. Get control of the things that we're spending now, so that as our income increases and our savings, we start seeing the increase, and we're praying for a bigger increase in our finances, because we're doing our finances by faith. All right, I think that's pretty much it, you guys. I thank you guys for purchasing the spreadsheet. I hope it helps you just as much as it helps me. I wouldn't tell you about anything that I don't use. I use this all the time. I'm going to be sharing some numbers, some of our personal numbers, in other videos, so that you can see how we actually track our finances and what's coming in to this household as we live by faith, and we pray that God gives us the things that we want for ourselves and for our children and for generations to come. I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.